The Prime Minister's question time today was very animated, and it began with a question about the post office and indeed about post office franchises in supermarkets. And it's not just the people who were directly employed by Post Office Limited who suffered, who were victimized by the Horizon software. Also, people who were employed, let's say, in this particular case, by a supermarket. They had their careers and their livelihoods destroyed because the computer said no, and they were accused of an accountancy error. They were accused of theft and so on, and they aren't covered by any form of compensation. I find it extraordinary that the government has failed to anticipate this issue and now doesn't say automatically, yes, well, they will be covered. We're making that decision. They say they'll look into it. It's not enough, and too many years have gone by, and the Prime Minister needs to get these people in Downing Street and to listen to them rather than be so detached and so imperious. It's simply not right. And I'm delighted to hear this question kicking off Prime Minister's Question Times. And at the same time, we'll hear a sort of a vague mention of the DUP. But the DUP story and DUP capitulating and going back to Stormont is one of the few success stories in the past 14 years, and that's down to Chris Heaton-Harris, one of the less photo-grabbing MPs, one of the more modest ministers who sticks his head down and gets the job done, and he's an example to other ministers. That's how you get your work done. That's what you are there to do, rather than preening at the dispatch box and saying things which are wide of the truth. Let's listen to the rest of Prime Minister's Question Time. The Keir Starmer going on about the Norfolk MP who has trouble with his mortgage. Well, I find that really quite entertaining, and not least because when it's all down to Liz Truss, isn't it? Liz Truss and her ridiculous hand jobs. And had she actually spent more time doing her duty and less time fawning over Kwasi Kwarteng's prodigious package, and had she similarly spent more time listening and less time taking lessons to make her look more human and less like a Thunderbird puppet, then maybe we wouldn't be in such a catastrophic mess that we are in. I'm one of many, of course. And I think the majority of people around the country experience the same sort of thing, that our mortgages shot up under Liz Truss's management to an extent where, it's now seriously difficult to meet the bills at the end of a month. And nothing, Rishi Sunak's platitudinous, imperious put down is wide of the mark. I can't access those extra funds or deals to get my mortgage down. My mortgage is up, and I don't have the benefit, no doubt, that the Norfolk MP has to run off to some to accept some multiplicitous sinecure from a bank or wherever he's getting his extra income. I don't have that privilege. He's still an MP, by the way. Why should he be entitled to an extra job because of the privilege of representing his constituents? His first job and his only job should be to represent his constituents. That should be it. And when he quits Parliament, then maybe he can take up that sinecure. But for the meantime, he should be doing the job that he was elected to and taking up the responsibilities that he was offered and fulfilling his ministerial duties. Instead, he's whinging about a mortgage that many of us have suffered because of his and his ex-Prime Minister's stupidity and obsession with bashing out some sort of ideological stance and celebrating some nonsense that simply doesn't add up. So Sunak's response is dismissive and wide of the mark, and he should really be meeting people who have real experience rather than listening to twits from the Treasury. And I appreciate Keir Starmer's repeated point that the government has crashed the economy. Liz Truss crashed the economy. Liz Truss has made our lives harder. And the polls are very clear. If you look at the string of polls over the latter part of this government, you can see very clearly that spike towards Labour and away from the Conservatives is entirely under Liz Truss's administration. Liz Truss is responsible for the direction of this government. Rishi Sunak may have clawed back some credibility, but not enough to save the general election for the Conservative Party, nor enough to save the country and to leave the country in a better condition than when he found it. And instead, he has occupied his time by pursuing some sort of white elephant about stopping small boats and not stopping them in any coherent way, but fixated on Rwanda and failing to rethink the problem and the solution. The solution which he has inherited is not the solution to the problem. There are many other solutions to that problem. He's chosen one because it was chosen for him beforehand. This is stupidity. And he's thrown as much money as he possibly can at that problem rather than throwing money at people who need it. It's shameful and shocking. Now, calling the Prime Minister out, that is the duty of the leader of the opposition, but I wish that he would spend a little bit less time reading from a prepared script and a little more time asking proper questions in a timely manner. And his reference to Phil, I don't think that the Prime Minister really was mocking Phil. I think this was a set-up jibe that Keir Starmer had planned from the beginning, and the Prime Minister fell into that trap enough. And of course, the parliamentary channel shows us the Prime Minister laughing, but I don't think he's laughing at Phil. I think that is unfair and inappropriate use of parliamentary time. And I find it entertaining, however, that the Speaker of the House of Commons then refers to the leader of the opposition as Prime Minister. It's not for the first time, by the way. But that, I hope, puts Rishi Sunak in his place. Rishi Sunak is not rising to the mark. Rishi Sunak, like Keir Starmer, should be answering proper questions rather than reading from a particular script and reciting slogans that don't quite work. It's time for both of them to up their game, and I hope that will happen over the next year. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.